Hey, everybody. Welcome to A Mighty Blaze. I'm Jenna Blum, one of the co-founders of The Blaze, sort of decent company. And today I am here with one of my dear friends and acclaimed novelist, Kate Christensen, who is good ass, badass company to talk about her book, Good Company. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you, Jenna. It's nice to be back.
I know this is your third time on The Blaze, I think, right?
It is my third time, yeah.
It was the third
Yeah.
time. So she is like a 3-time repeat offender. We love that on The Blaze. So for the rest of you repeat offenders who may be watching, thank you for bringing your light back to The Blaze. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, we are a team of about 20 now, creative professional volunteers dedicated to bringing authors and their new books to readers. We started in COVID when everybody was trapped in their houses. And obviously, we have gone way beyond that. If you like what you see here, please give us a like or a follow on Facebook, on YouTube, on Substack, where we have a brand new stack. On TikTok, we are ubiquitous. And please consider signing up for our newsletter at www.mightyblaze.com so you never have literary FOMO ever again. No more FOMO. Nobody likes that. I'm going to say hi to two of our biggest fangirls right now, Renee and Robin, who are always tuning in, supporting Authors on the Blaze. Hello, ladies. One from Idaho and one from Southeast Florida. And Kate, you ready for your bio?
Sure, yeah, always.
All right, buckle up. It's you. This is like a mashup of your website and then shit I just made up. Put in there. Kate Christensen is the author of 9 previous novels, making me feel like a big slacker. Most recently, Good Company, which is the book we are here to talk about today. Kate's 4th novel, The Great Man, won a 2008 10 Faulkner Award for fiction. Amazing. Also jealous. She has published 2 food-centric memoirs, Blue Plate Special and How to Cook a Moose, which I think was the first book we talked about, and then we geeked out about food like for an hour.
Oh my God, because we're both Norwegian. We talked about Norwegian food.
We did, which I'm sure was like highly enlightening for our audience. But that was a hot show, people. You can find that on YouTube, by the way. If you put in Jenna Blum and Kate Christensen in our YouTube library, you can find that goodness. And that book won a 2016 Maine Literary Award for memoir. Kate has also written 2 memoirs, and wait, I just said that, and a variety of essays for anthologies, including The Bitch in the House and Why We Write About Ourselves, which is really organic to today's discussion, as well as many essays and reviews from major publications such as The New York Times, The Nation, Bon Appetit, and Book Forum. And she lives with her hubby and their 2 dogs. 2 dogs?
Yep.
Okay, not more than 2. Just checking.
No, only 2.
Okay, that 2 is good. I'm just checking to see if you had like a menagerie by now. And they are in northern New Mexico. Welcome back to The Blaze, Kate.
Thank you, and thank you for that bio. That I was listening to that bio, going, God, I've been really busy. I've been busy.
Doesn't it make you feel tired when you hear your own bios? I mean, tired in a good way. Like, I always think I'm kind of slacking off, and then I hear people introduce me, and I'm like, no wonder I need a nap, like perpetually, kind of. No. So, yes. All right. Tell us about Good Company, which is a title I love, is cover. I absolutely love sort of like demonic looking bar cover, which is also like my New Jersey childhood. Tell us what the book is about.
Well, so the title, I think by explaining the title, I can explain the book. I think that's probably the best way. But can I also point out that I really like the way you lined up the book under the header of our frame, so that it's got.
I'm gonna take a picture of that. Okay, smile. All right. I made this background myself today, and I was so proud of myself. And my poor producer Ariel had to listen to me crow about it on text. I'm like, check out this rockin' background. Hi, Sharon from Minnesota. Hi. Okay. Yes.
It's really good. And I'm sorry they have to look at us instead of seeing the whole thing that you did, because it's really excellent. Okay. So Good Company. So through my life, I've coveted many things, but one of the things I've coveted is being called good company. Like it's like a badge, a stamp of honor from a certain kind of man, and not a man I'm sexually attracted to at all, but more like a man who reminds me of my father, who was a kind of dyed-in-the-wool misogynist, who didn't like me because I was a girl and who didn't want to be a father at all. And he broke my heart when I was 9, and ever since I have felt this sort of compulsion to correct that wrong, because how could you abandon an awesome kid like me? Like that really didn't make sense to me, and was my first experience of heartbreak. And so I was determined to win over men who didn't like me from then on, and who didn't like me only because I was a woman, a girl, first a girl and then a woman. And so when that kind of man would say to me in a bar, in a restaurant, at a party, you know, you're awfully good company, I would get this little like angel brownie halo imaginary around my head, like I did it. I'm good company, I really am. But it was a false kind of badge. And so I called the book Good Company because I wanted to examine that entire dynamic of why I wanted to win over misogynists, men who didn't like me, who didn't respect me, and who treated me sort of like a vaguely sexual being, but like an adjunct to their egos.
Wow, beautifully put, and probably the most honest answer, and like, you know, going deep right out of the gate answer I've ever received to what is the book about. Can you talk a little bit about like what did that good company entail? Like if you're gonna kind of be that girl, I related so much to this as like a Gen Xer, and I'm so curious if we have other Gen Xers watching. Do you also feel like, oh, okay, I totally get this? If we have like Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha watching, are you, or millennials, are you like, what? I'm really curious about this, but like explain what good company means to you, to us.
Well, I feel like it is a generational thing. I know a lot of women my age, well, younger than me. I feel like the oldest living Gen Xer, because I was born in 1962, but I'm so not a boomer, and I was a latchkey kid, and I have all the hallmarks of the Gen X person. So I just kind of glommed onto, and I was like, I took 2 years off before college, and so, oh, a baby boomer, hi. Um, Maybe baby boomers identify also with this, but
I think that's right. So boomers, yes, chime in here. Like, let us know if you recognize this dynamic.
what I call it in the book is the Hemingway dream girl. I think it's the Hemingway dream girl, and the Hemingway dream girl can drink anyone under the table, can smoke a cigar, can play poker, can laugh really hard at other people's jokes and also make them. Doesn't make trouble, doesn't really defend other women when men say sexist things. The Hemingway dream girl, so I kind of patterned her on Islands in the Stream, Catherine. Do you remember that book? It was about sort of, it was like, because I think our generation, and I know I'm older than you, but like I said, I glommed onto your generation. So
you are, yes, you are totally, you are. Like, I thought we were exactly the same age, so we'll just go with that. Yes, we are the
boomers
same person.
House don't play poker. so I feel like it's the kind of woman who gets along with men, and who is sort of like one of the guys, but also hot enough to have sex with. And so, and it takes a lot of work to be that person, and it takes a lot of going against your own sort of internal code. And it takes a lot of internalized misogyny, which is something else this book is about, and something else I wanted to examine in a generational sense. Like, where does that come from? Why haven't I always, why have I let myself not stick up for women at times in order to be one of these? And it's something that I deplore in myself and have gotten rid of, I hope, forever. Now that I'm old.
Yeah. That's right, because the women are complicit too, because we want to be liked. And I think this is one way of being liked. It's just a different way of being liked than being like a girly girl. So you're like the person who can belly up to the bar. I was thinking of Gellhorn, like Hemingway's girlfriend, the photographer Gellhorn. And it's like that is like the girl who like crawls down into the trenches with you, and is always up for anything. Like there's a great line in the book, like Julia, the main character, is talking to her friend Alex, and Julia says, Robert Maines once told me I was game, like I was the game girl. And I thought that was kind of like the definition of good company, that you're going to go against your own instincts and also go against like defending yourself and other people and not calling out bad behavior because you want to be seen as game and you want to be a good sport, kind of.
Exactly. No, that's it. That's it. And if there are more than one Hemingway dream girl in the room, if there is more than one, yeah. If there are two or more Hemingway dream girls in the room, there's a kind of weird relationship that they share there. It's like being the beta animals together. Like, we know we're both beta animals, we're competing for the limelight, but we're kind of, there's this weird alliance. And I don't really get into that in the novel, but I'm just remembering that feeling of, being the girls in the bar.
You and I could have been Hemingway dream girls. We would have had a good time.
Wouldn't
it be pretty to think so? We would have had such beautiful Hemingway dream girl life together. Wouldn't it be pretty to think so? Until we were like, oh, we're like totally erasing our own personalities. It's such an interesting kind of gray area that you're writing about here. I realize we're talking about the book like it's nonfiction, but it feels very metafictional to me, which I want to ask about. But I was so intrigued and compelled by the topic. I mean, Kate is an auto buy for me. She's an auto read for me. I have long loved all of her books that explore these sort of power dynamics between people and between men and women and questions of identity. But this one, I thought, really put its finger on something that was a sort of a gray area that nobody had called out before, that Hemingway dream girl way of being. And how did that interlock, or does it interlock perhaps, with the sort of Me Too mentality that we became aware of pre-pandemic, or started at least calling out very loudly pre-pandemic? Because I feel like this does play into it in a very insidious way. And I wonder if you could talk about that.
Well, I didn't want to write a Me Too novel. So you've really picked up on that it's not a Me Too novel at all. It's set in 2018, which is pre-Harvey Weinstein, contemporaneous with Harvey Weinstein. But before all of that happened, and before COVID, I sort of deliberately set it in a time, and there's a Trumpy shadow for the book, but it's not about Trump, but it's about the conditions that gave rise to Trump, I think, in some ways. But I really wanted to write about something that was sort of adjacent to Me Too, to the whole idea of calling out men. But I wanted to go not deeper. I mean, I feel like it is adjacent, like they're both
sideways.
I wanted to do a sidestep and examine, create a character who both was and was not like me. And the ways she's not like me, I think, are really interesting. The way twins dress differently to differentiate themselves and cultivate different personalities. But there is an umbilicus, obviously, linking us, and biographical facts. But I wanted to get into this dynamic between men and women, not as women being victimized by men, but women sort of playing along, like we were just talking about. How women play along, and what it means to stop doing that, and what it means to make a conscious decision, during menopause, because menopause shifts your whole perspective. It's like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I don't really care if you like me or not.
I'm just going to share this one comment from Robin because it's so organic to the discussion. I'm holding up now. I don't give one shit about a random man's fragile ego. Don't be a jerk. No, it's not a funny joke. Yes, you're being condescending. Do better. Or just like, don't, like, go away, And then, like, I love these comments from our audience. Much can be conveyed with a facial expression. And Ellen, who is our debut Spotlight on-air host as well as our Substack director, so this Hemingway dream girl can hang with the barflies, but can't tolerate misogynists. Like, talk about the freedom that comes with entering the zero fucks era, because I feel like in some ways, like, one of my questions for you is, why are so many writers writing about being writers and kind of breaking that code of, we're going to just all not say the unpleasant untruths about our writing lives. And there are many wonderful things about it too, but I thought maybe it is part of getting to your mid-career and getting in that zero fucks place, which is so liberating, and pertains to this issue also. Like, you just get to a place where you're just like, can you get your nasty ass away from me, please? Yeah. But I mean, talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it correlates with, so it's just my real interest is in talking to women and hearing women's stories and finding out sort of what other women think and feel about things. And it's like this whole sexual game that, I mean, so I lived in New York for 20 years and I was sort of in the New York literary world, but I never really hung out with writers because it terrified me to do so. And it also felt like a man's world in a way. And it also felt in the early aughts like we women in our 30s and early 40s, and maybe younger too, were really competitive with each other in a way that I did not like, didn't feel comfortable with, and sort of backed slowly away from with my hands in the air. And I went and hung out in North Brooklyn with painters and musicians and people who did different things from me, so that the competition wasn't even an aspect. It wasn't even for me. So I feel like this give no fucks era comes from realizing that all along we mattered, you know, it mattered more than we knew we did as female writers. And I think there was this like looking over at the Bens and Jonathans and sort of feeling like, you know, they're, and you know who I mean though, like the very inventive pyrotechnic, like stylistically, you know, experimental, the guys who were doing really interesting things, but weren't necessarily writing about psychological, you know, those small moments between people that my bread and butter and it's all I care about. And I kept thinking, first of all, why don't more people care about that? And why isn't that taken more seriously? And that was a source of great frustration. But second, there's this sort of male way of writing a novel that no matter what is always, you know, it's like, I think Julia describes it as being the center of the circus, like the main ring of the circus. Women are all the rings, writing little novels about. So this, I just want to write about feelings. What were you putting here?
I literally just had a flashback to college when my college boyfriend, because all I wanted to do ever was be a writer, and I'd be scribbling away in my journals all the time. And I remember he would come into my dorm room and say, "Is Widow Jenna writing about a widow feelings again?"
God.
You know, I mean, now he's a border patrol guard, so nobody is surprised about that. But, I mean, I was like, "Yes, douchebag, I am writing about my widow feelings. Like, how you doing now?" Like, anyway, how you like me now? So, yeah, tell us a little bit about the plot of the book, because then I can ask, like, plug back into it like a switchboard and continue to ask these questions in such a fascinating discussion as I knew it would be. But describe, like, what happens to Julia, our protagonist in the novel.
Julia Heimdall shows up at her alma mater, Baldwin College, which is in an unnamed small northwestern city, and for a literary festival. It's a weekend. So so it's the scaffolding of the novel is the weekend at the literary festival. She's on a panel with a biographer named Ellis Blackwell. And,
oh my God.
And he befriends her instantly by asking her to have a drink in the hotel bar before the welcoming party. And they strike up this sort of provisionally intimate, the way things are at book festivals, like chummy, sort of, we're writers, we're on a panel together. We both have fucked up families. Let's bond. Let's be friends for the book festival and like do our panel and whatever. So over the course of the weekend, Ellis is revealed as I don't know what to say without giving it away, but he's a bad man.
He's been doing bad things.
He's been doing bad things that are coming out this weekend, and he's sort of aware of it at the beginning. And so this sets off, so this relationship is sort of tracked through the novel, but the chapters and it's also, you know, a lot of people from her past are at this festival. And so she's promoting a memoir, which is the story of her life, which is like her memoir, which is called Don't Let It Bring You Down. And she's also confronted with a lot of the people who may or may not be in the memoir, but who have had a really big impact on her in one way or another throughout her life, literarily, personally. And so while this is happening in the present time of the novel, I made the structural decision to intersperse real-time chapters with excerpts from the memoir she's promoting so that the present day can comment on the memoir and vice versa. So it can be this sort of intertwined, like double helix of past and present that gets at memoir versus fiction versus real life, and how how as a novelist writing a memoir, what that means, because I'm a novelist who's written a memoir and have thought a lot about what that meant, and thought a lot about the limitations of memoir and the freedom of fiction. So this is also playing with that. It's an argument for fiction. But the sort of progression of the novel takes Julia deeper and deeper into her past, but also sort of anchors her more and more in a possible future that she sort of is creating as the book goes on by looking at this complicity she's had with men who don't like her, and this desire to win them over, and how it's been this sort of defining problem in her life, and something she's been doing to herself that's like hurting herself, as much as drinking, and sort of coming out of it in a way by the end of the book, I think. Yeah.
It's a very nuanced, delicate kind of dislike too that the men have for her. Like it's a very true portraiture, it seems. And it's not like they dislike her because she's her. It's like they dislike her because she's a woman. And so there's a lot of, I guess, what we would call microaggression or blah, blah, what was it? Microaggression or passive aggression? Passive, yeah, I need to say passive aggressive. Passive aggression. And it comes kind of from all directions. It comes from Ellis, the writer who befriends her and kind of is using her as a beard, we find out, I think, without giving too much away, but he knows he's, maybe in trouble. And so he's kind of latched onto her in this very charming Truman Capote-like way. Like I thought he was like exactly like Truman Capote, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so squirmy reading about this guy. But also, like, she has a teacher who is a mentor whom she gets to revisit and kind of revisit her emotions about that person, as well as her memories. And her editor is at this festival, like her male editor. And so like these scenes were all like highly delicious for me to read and also slightly uncomfortable. But I thought, what a great opportunity to go back. I mean that in the best way, to go back to your alma mater and have the chance to, like, you can go home again, and when you go home, if you are a different person, you can say different things. And so what I thought was so ingenious about the novel is we were watching Julia sort of question herself in a chrysalis and like put little feelers out from that chrysalis in terms of her own behavior in the entire book. And then we get the origin story of why she has been the Hemingway girl all along, like the game girl all along. So like super ingenious stuff, and really kind of unfolds like origami in that way, because it's like a novelist writing a novel about a novelist promoting a memoir that is about the novelist. I mean, it was like a really cool kind of origami. So do you think, do you feel that she throughout the book has sort of like stepping stone moments where she's always trying to make these decisions and kind of measuring her own behavior and taking her own temperature about like what's cool to do and what's not cool to do? I feel like Gen X has a particular, you're Gen X, so you're like, you are Gen X, you're the leader of Gen X. So we have this desire to be cool. Like we grew up with like this sort of like Ali Sheedy, Molly Ringwald, James Spader, Andrew McCarthy thing, and wearing our Wayfarers and like driving around with our one piercing and whatever, smoking and drinking a Zima, I mean, like, but we were a very cool generation. And so I feel like when you're breaking the Hemingway girl code, you're breaking the cool code, and suddenly you're coming out as being like earnest, and that's not cool, right? Like people are very like, ugh. Like, so talk about how Julia navigates that feeling of suddenly being like in the book.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's so well put. And the word cool, I was thinking that also about the Hemingway. She's the cool girl. But see, the thing is, and I was trying to be that, but I'm really earnest. I'm deeply earnest. Carolyn, hi. Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Caroline, I hope, because otherwise I've been calling my co-founder and my Blaze sister the wrong name all these years, but that's great. Hi, Caroline. We love you. Hi.
I feel like my deep earnestness and sort of solitary dorkiness. And, you know, like, you know, I loved Edna St. Vincent Millay as a teenager, and choral singing, and, you know, poetry of all kinds. And, but those were things that I feel like when I say that the Hemingway dream girl persona that I put on went against my internal code, it actually went against who I am really deeply. I don't know if this is answering your question. It's just something I was thinking about while you were talking. Like,
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I mean, the Hemingway dream girl is cool. She can drink, she can smoke, she could shoot a gun, she could, fly fish. I mean, honestly, she can take war photos. I was thinking about this in terms of being a woman in a man's world when I used to storm chase. And I was one of like 3 women on the plains chasing tornadoes, and none of the guys could look above my collarbone because they were all too shy to look at me. And I was like, I am the coolest girl alive officially in this small group of people. But I mean, like, I couldn't break out of being cool girl in that like company, which entailed talking about meteorology and storms all the time. You're not going to talk about anything else. Like, you're not going to talk about your hopes and dreams, right? So
right,
there's that.
right. And it feels really good. I mean, that is so cool, by the way.
It was cool.
That you were that.
I mean, being a writer is cool. I mean, I think now people think of the publishing industry as being very female dominated, but when I was growing up, it was not like that. It was like you had these kind of the great man, right? Like the giants of literature, where we had our female giants, but we also had a lot of dudes. I'm not saying that's bad. Like, I loved so many of them and still love them. I get to meet Jay McNerney this weekend, and I've been like rehearsing what I'm going to say to him like my entire, for like a week now, which we can talk about. But I feel like I would definitely cool girl out with him. And like, what if Jay McNerney, not saying that he would ever do this, because I hear he's a really nice guy, but like, what if he like grabbed my ass or something? Would I have the courage to step out of my game girl, whatever, and be like, hey, Jay, get your hand off my ass? You know what I mean? Like, it's a really hard. Why is this so hard? Why is it so hard to break out of that cool girl shell?
That is exactly the question. But I would hope that he wouldn't grab your ass.
No, I don't think Jay would do that. It's a bad example. Let's say, like, I don't know, Trump is at a literary festival. That would happen.
Do you know what? When I'm hiking now, I have these fantasies, because I live in New Mexico, and I hike. That's what you do. I have dogs. So we go up on the trails, up like forested canyons along streams. It's so beautiful. I hike alone with my dogs, and I have bear spray, and I have a knife. But I forget to bring them. So I have them. They're sitting by the door, but I always forget to bring them. So when I'm hiking, it's like the bear or the man question. Like, I always tense my muscles. Like, I wish a guy would step out of the bushes and try to rape me, so I could just fuck him up. I just seriously, like I pity the fool, man, at this stage in my life. But how did I get onto that? I just flashed on it because I was doing it this morning. Like, I park where there's no other cars, so I'm the only one on the trail because it's, really nice.
Okay, now I'm like literally scared for you. Do you know how to use that knife and the bear spray? Like, do you know how to fuck people up? I need to ask this.
I don't. But when someone tried to rape me in Paris when I was 18, and I use this for Julia, this is in Good Company. She sends him sprawling into a gutter. She gets so angry that he's trying to rape her, and I feel like there's this fight or flight or go limp kind of thing, and you don't know how you're going to react. But I always think I'm going to see red, and I'm going to try to poke his eyes out while I kick his balls. I hope. But anyway.
You don't have to test that. I mean, I hope you don't. I know it would be fun, but I hope you don't have to test it.
No, I hope I don't.
Yeah.
I hope.
Like, remember, I don't know if you read Cheryl Strayed's Wild, like, which I've read like 50 times, but I think the scariest scene in the book is when she's been on the Pacific Crest Trail for some time, and she comes upon a place where she wants to camp, but there are 2 guys there, and they are like putting out bad vibes. Like, they're giving bad vibes. They're like, come here, Purdy. She's been on the trail for like 30 days. Like, she ain't Purdy at that point. But that was like a terrifying part of the book for me. Yeah. Renee wants to know, what size is your knife? That's an excellent question.
I should go get it and show you all. It's actually not a big knife. I think it's it's just a jackknife. But I feel like if I ever remember to bring it, and I should bring my bear spray because the bears are really up on the trails, and
Yeah,
people
that's actually also scary.
people have,
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt a bear, and I don't want to spray it. I just want to scare it away. But I think my knife, like it's like a jackknife, and it unfolds, but you could slice.
Well, I mean, sometimes if you just have one and you show that you're not easy prey. Renee also wants to know if you've taken any self-defense courses.
No, I should, right? If
We all
anyone
should.
wants to recommend what kind of self-defense I should take, I'm all ears because I don't know anything about. I just depend on my temper. And it is a big enough knife to prove my point. I feel.
It is probably a big enough knife. It just means go mess with somebody else. But now, because you have kind of broken out of this mold, you can defend that other person too. It's interesting. There are a lot of videos on Instagram that for some reason target me, and then they show up in my reels all the time. But of like women walking down the street with some guy who is doing them wrong, and they do the signal behind their back, and it means some other person come to my aid. And I feel like once you break out of the good girl, good company code, you can come to people's aid in a much easier way instead of watching something you know is wrong and not doing anything and feeling ashamed. I feel like that's kind of the underbelly of the Hemingway's girl lifestyle. Like if you don't say anything, there was a time, I guess I want to say 2 years ago, I was in Michigan in a bar with my two college friends. And that's excellent advice, Renee. Check with the local police department and karate schools. That is a great, thank you so much for that. So I was in this bar, and we're going to get back to your book, I promise. And I really want to talk about the writing aspect also. But I was sitting with two of my college buddies in northern Michigan in this tiny dive bar that I had made us go to because I'd already had a drink. I'm like, let's go to the dive bar. That'll be fun. And there was a dude in there who was so odious, who like inserted himself at our table. He was completely drunk. He kept petting my hair. He thought I was a Fox News anchor. He's like, oh, you're a feisty one. That's because you're a Fox News anchor. I'm like, I'm actually not a Fox News anchor. Stop touching my hair. And I remember saying, I mean, I would say to him, like, he would say terrible things. And I would say, you are really an asshole. Like, we don't want to talk to you. Go away. And it was so liberating. And my friend who lived there was kicking me under the table, mouthing, this isn't Boston. It's not Boston. So she was being like the good company girl for a long time in that situation. And then finally he said something really mean about Michelle Obama. And my friend said, you know what? You're just gross. You're gross. And then we left. And so she broke her good company code, and it was amazing to watch. I was really proud of her, but it took a long time to get there. And I was very, I was full of adrenaline in that encounter because I've never done anything like that in my life, but I was just so over somebody being so disgusting. Like he told my third friend that she had a nice rack. And I was like, dude, you can't say things like that these days. You're like, fuck off into the sea, really like leave. And he'd be like, oh, you're feisty. I like them squirmy and feisty. I mean,
that's
like,
so disgusting.
I know, he was disgusting. Anyway, okay. So sorry, I feel like we're getting away from the book. This is what happens on our interviews. Like,
no, this is very much about the book. This is all about the book, actually. These are the questions I was dealing with. Like, what do you do in the face of that? And the whole, and also I want to get back to what you said before you ask your next question. If that's okay, I want to. Absolutely. Oh yeah, that's true.
Right. Often women freeze when the threat's on them, but spring into action when some. It is always easier, it seems, to defend other people. Why is that? I mean, this whole thing is so complicated and so interesting.
I want to talk about how much I love the great male writers also, because I feel like I didn't mean to, I wasn't denigrating them. I was just talking about my envy of them and fascination with them. And other women have written about this. Have you read The Folded Clock by Heidi?
No.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of my favorite memoirs. She does an atemporal, it's the folded clock. So it's all out of time, but it all makes sense. And there's a whole, so she's very deft at getting at this relationship that women have to male writers, or our generation actually, because she's also X. But this feeling that we want to be them. We fuck them. We don't really want to hang out with them. We want to be them. We want to inhabit the power they have. And so that's really what I was. Anyway.
That is so interesting. I think about that when I had like mad crushes, and as part of wanting to like climb into somebody's skin when you love them that much. And I feel like for a lot of the good company girls, of which I am one, like I was that girl. I was not a girly girl. Like I could never be a girly girl. It did not interest me. I was not raised to be that way. I was a daddy's girl, you know, so it's like you get oriented in that way. Um, but yeah, it is such a hard thing to break. But it also creates such a longing in you to be accepted by the guys and also to like be one of the guys. So I remember that intense feeling that comes from what they call the hole in the soul, where you just want to climb into somebody else's skin and be that person. You love them so much. And there was a paragraph in the book that I have sort of flagged sitting next to me to read because I thought it was like the nut graph for the whole book. And I want to see if you agree. And a nut graph, if you are not journalists out there, means the paragraph in a news article or a story that kind of sums up the point of the story or essay. So that's the nut graph. I never meant to be this woman. All I wanted was love. But limerence turns out to be destructive if you let it go far enough. An uncontrollable obsessive desire for someone is evidently a diagnosable condition often caused by childhood trauma, neurochemically related to obsessive compulsive disorder and addiction. And I thought about that like as a sort of a formative block for the good company, the Hemingway girl identity. Like, is it because we like sort of learn early on that the dudes who are supposed to love us and who do love us like are not giving us enough, and then you get very hungry, so you kind of morph yourself into whatever they want you to be. I wonder if you could speak about that.
Oh my God, no, you just described it perfectly. That it's the loss of self. It's as if you willingly abnegate ab self.
Abnegate.
I never say that word out loud. Anyway, but I will now. It's a kind of absenting of yourself, and filling it with someone else. And this desire can never be met. It's giving limerence is like it's like an addiction,
Yes,
I think. And
totally.
I've experienced it so much in my life, this kind of unbelievable obsession with a man. And
Mhm.
the feeling that I can't even breathe because I want to be him so badly. And that's ultimately what it is. It's envy. It's envy of the man instead of just inhabiting my own femaleness. And that is the root of my own misogyny, my kind of internalized sort of, I'm not enough. It's not enough to be a woman. And we don't run the world, unfortunately. I wish we did. God, I wish we did, but don't even get me started. But this feeling of wanting the power and wanting the agency that men have, and feeling that I will die without it, but I can't have it because I'm a woman, and it's this sort of reinforcing feedback loop in my head. And so with Julia, I wanted to. I don't think I. Wait, tell me where that paragraph is. Tell me.
It's
Who
on
these.
page 49, and it's a sort of, it's not in a scene. I think it's in the memoir. It's in the memoir. It's the third excerpt that's called We Slung the, wait, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't even read. Yeah, that's right. We slung the drunk boat out of port.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I think that's so interesting what you're saying about wanting to be a person to have that agency. And I'm thinking about how when I was in high school and college, like there were ways to be a cool girl if you were a feminine girl. Like in high school, everybody wore Benetton, and like, you know, you didn't say what you really thought if you were Gen X. Like you were kind of hiding behind your feathered hair and your Benetton clothes and your femininity. And then in college, we were sometimes hiding behind wonkiness, but like everybody wore LL Bean and it was kind of the same way. And you would play sports and you would, but I was like, it was fine, but like I couldn't compete in that arena, and nor did I really want to. Like my idea of being cool was not being a girl like that. My idea of cool was actually probably, as you said, like being, I could never be cool enough to be a guy. Like I think about the guys who I thought were cool, and they were all of these guys with the popped collars and the aviator glasses. Like when I see people wearing Ray-Bans, I still am like, oh Jesus, like you're a man from my youth. You know what I mean? Like those pilot aviator glasses, like there are certain times I'm like, I will never be cool enough for you. I will never be cool enough. And I think that is because there is a certain entitlement that went along with those guys who were very much in that sort of James Spadery kind of mode, like that, you know, Blaine, your name's not even a name, it's an appliance kind of dude mode. They were like so cool, they didn't even need human names. Like, you know, they were just that cool. And I wanted to be one of those people. So yes, this is all making a lot of sense to me. This is like a great therapy session. I hope everybody's as much as I am. I think it's like so great. Tell me about, I'm going to just like track us onto the writing track a little bit, because I do think it's super interesting. Oh, wait, I have one thought before I do that. Before we get into the writing about writing and writing about the writer life, I wanted to say that there is in the self-abnegation, in trading your own thoughts, like your own opinions away. Like I have done this many times where I've sat at bars with men and heard them say things I did not agree with. And instead of saying, you know what, I respectfully disagree with that, I think blah, blah, blah. Like I would just kind of like nod and smile instead. Or anybody who has ever been on a date knows that like sometimes you kiss the guy at the end of a date because you're like, but he paid for my drink though, I have to be nice. It's the same thing. You're kind of trading yourself away to be nice, to be cool, to not be offensive, to fit in, to be, you know, to not give offense. And that is a really hard thing to navigate, even in the zero fucks age. Like I am learning, but it is hard. And I wonder if we could talk a little bit about the shame that goes along with that. Like I just went to a book club 2 nights ago for my book, Murder Your Darlings, in which the protagonist is a codependent. And this is the whole point of the book, is that she slowly erases herself over the course of the book to give herself to a man who she's in love with, who is a love bomber extraordinaire. And then how does she get back to herself, if at all? But it's like a terrible feeling. Like, you know, you're doing it. You know, you're trading yourself away. And when at the book club, the women were all going around the table saying what they thought of the book, which was like a workshop, which was like sort of uncomfortable. And one of the women said, I was so frustrated with the protagonist. Like, I was so frustrated. Like, girl, all the red flags are there. What are you doing? And a couple of other people picked that up and echoed it. And then there was a woman sitting next to me who was like, oh, I totally get it. I totally get why she did that. And she was totally stigmatized, and she got more and more in the vortex. And it was kind of like a dividing line between the people who had done this and then the people who hadn't done it. And it was fascinating to watch people divide themselves into those teams. And I'm wondering if you could talk about the accompanying internal feeling you get when you are erasing yourself bit by bit.
It's shame, but I think it's shame born of fear. And one thing about our generation that I want to pick up on what you were saying is that we're very stoic, and we were taught to be stoic. We were taught not to show weakness. And so a lot of that behavior, I think, comes from, and I don't know about other generations. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a millennial woman. I really don't. But I feel like for us, there was this kind of, we're tough. We don't need our parents. Nobody took care of us, so we didn't need taken care of. Like, if you didn't have a need met, then you just denied the need. You just said, well, you know, well, then I didn't need it. That's fine. I'm good. I'm fine. And we very much were not fine. And or at least I wasn't. I was not fine. But pretending to be fine was my way of kind of powering through. And I think I was afraid of men, and I still am a lot of the time afraid of men, because they're scary. They're bigger than we are, and that's just the truth. They're bigger than we are, and they can hurt us in ways that we can't hurt them. And that's sort of the defining sort of motif of this dynamic. And what our fear makes us do is appease them. And we need them, though. And in spite of everything, you know, I don't hate men. I can't. I'm incapable of hating men. There's so many men I really love, and there's so many men I trust. And there's just this certain kind of man. And I wanted to write about the sort of fatal attraction, which isn't sexual. Which it's not sexual for me anyway, interestingly. It's more daughterly. It's more like, and that's why I have her editor and her former mentor in the novel, along with, you know, excerpts from her memoir that get into older men in her passage she trusted, and they all betrayed her trust. And so for me, I'm not being a daddy's girl. I wish I had been a daddy's girl. I was a daddy's girl monkey. I feel like I adored my father and he did not adore me back. And that was like it was a defining dynamic of my life, that I felt worthy of his adoration and did not receive it, to put it mildly. So there was this kind of uh, like I said at the beginning, this shame is this need. It's because I really needed male approval and I really craved it. And I saw women like the ones in that book club who are like, I never would have done that. I was so frustrated with her. I saw women like that watch me behave in that way. And I think the shame came from being seen by other women who didn't have that, the truly cool women, of which I who were hanging back, who weren't trying to please these guys, who didn't need their approval like I did. And so I would go home and feel ashamed. And shame is like a public feeling. Guilt is the private feeling. So I felt this public, like, like, yet this compulsion to act like that in spite of it. I knew better. I did. I knew better, but yet I couldn't stop myself because of this hunger, and because of this unresolved sort of pain from childhood that caused me to compulsively seek out something I could never have. And there's something very seductive in that, which goes along with drinking. I mean, I don't know, I call myself an alcoholic. I've been sober for 7 years, which I'm really happy about. But I think what I was a self-medicator. Drinking to fill the lack, to fill the void. And, ultimately you break the cycle by giving it up, by just saying, I'm gonna actually sit here with the void and just feel the emptiness. And I'm gonna have to just sit with it. And I did not enter any, I didn't go to AA. I sort of did it on my own in the Gen X fashion. Like I'm gonna tough it
Really
out.
white knuckle it, yeah.
I totally white knuckled it, but I did it by facing all the things that I was, drinking was. So this gets back to the novel also, because I sort of sent Julia on this weekend long grappling with why she drinks, as a sort of hand in glove component of this behavior with men. And it was, it's all this twisted up like thing.
I think also the drinking gives you permission to act in the way that you otherwise might not. And also when you were talking, I was thinking about the girls who in school were actually cool, who I really did envy. It was not because of any external thing. It was because they didn't seem to care about men as much as I did. And they could do other things. Like they were like, I'm really into rugby. I'm really into my science project. Hi, Mark. Mark is our thoughtful bro. He's just like, oh my God, it's so scared of you girls, except not. Anyway, like Mark is one of the good guys that I, like you, like I have a lot of men in my life who I revere and trust, and I don't let other guys in. And so when I hear like women are not forced to, but their jobs put them in proximity with guys who are being really douchey, I'm like, that sucks for you, because I only know good guys. And Mark is like the number one good guy. But yes, I remember thinking, why don't they care so much? Why don't they care about this? Why are they not immersing themselves in these romantic songs or thinking about these dudes 24/7 or this, that, the other? And it was so puzzling to me, but it seemed like being free of a handicap. And I think and hope and understand that subsequent generations have freed themselves more and more and more from that particular kind of pain or obsession. And maybe it goes back to how we were raised. I just realized it is almost 5 o'clock. We've been talking for almost an hour, and I have not given anybody a chance to ask any questions.
How is that possible? That went so
I know, well, because I talk most of the time, and I'm supposed to be interviewing you, probably. But I'm wondering, there are 2 last questions I wanted to sort of ask before a dismount, and then we can throw up a couple of lightning round audience questions, if that's okay. One of them is, like, talk about like that sort of origin story of Julia's pain. Like you've talked about it in your own life. There's like this quote on your website that I thought was so brave that I'm also going to read about your dad. Kate Christensen's childhood was filled with books, music, and warmth, but also with a certain amount of instability and trauma, which profoundly shaped her literary voice. The oldest of 3 sisters, she spent her first 8 years in Berkeley, California, before moving with her mom and sisters to Arizona in the 70s. I'm just going to like skip to the back part of this. Christensen's father, a Marxist pro bono civil rights lawyer and political activist, was a hero to the Black Panthers and conscientious objectors, but he was violent at home and abandoned all of his daughters when they were little. And I thought, what a brave thing to put on your website. And like speaks to your bravery in the zero fucks era to be like, this is who I am. But those of us who've had the pleasure of reading Good Company, and I hope everybody will now buy several copies of this novel and give it to everybody they know who grapples with these really sophisticated issues. Those of us who read this recognize like your origin story and Julia's origin story. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about, can you slip that noose? Like, can you get out from under like the rope around your neck from your childhood? Does Julia? Well, you can't ask if Julia does because you got to buy the book. But like, can you do that?
Okay. The answer is yes. That's the short answer. The how is by writing about it. Amazingly, it's amazing how freeing it is to just write the fucking truth. Just tell the truth, and you can tell it in fiction so much more easily than you can in memoir because it's fiction. Yeah. I feel like I felt this way when I published Blue Plate Special in a way, like I couched a lot of it because a lot of the people were living. So in this novel, and it bothered me, I had this little bothering feeling in my brain that I didn't really tell it because I couldn't. And so when I wrote this novel, I thought I'm going to use stuff from my own life. I'm going to give myself permission to, I'm sorry, I was just trying to read and talk at the same time. I was giving myself permission to use my own past in a novel, tell the truth about it by fictionalizing it. Mm-hmm. And I finished the book, and ever since I've been free of it. It's like really free, like the past is gone. It's over. I didn't deal with it. I mean, I don't think, but I think by just telling it, writing it down, it's like narrative therapy.
Narrative therapy, exactly. An exorcism. That actually, I was going to ask you if the book felt like an exorcism of sorts, because obviously it is a very meta novel, which is amazing. Somebody said to me when I was on tour with Darlings, because the book is about narcissism, like the male character is the narcissist. I'm not spoiling anything by saying that, but when I was talking about that aspect of the book, a reader said, did you feel like the book was a narcissism exorcism? And I was like, absolutely, absolutely. So writing can be a fantastic exorcism, I think. Yeah. And guys, you have to buy Good Company to read about this, the exorcism that Kate performed on herself. Which was amazing. I think we have time for like one question before we let you go. So this, I always love this question from Robin. This is like her habitual question, and it's always so great. Can I ask my favorite question? What is Kate's favorite treasure on the bookcase behind her? I love that question.
So here's my bookcase.
Look at that case.
Come around. Look at that.
Satisfying case.
Let's see. I have another bookcase upstairs that has a bunch of other books on it. So I'm not really sure what's on this bookcase, but I'm going to say today my favorite treasure on this, because it changes day to day to day. I'm going to say The House of Mirth.
Oh, cool. And why?
Because I think it is as timely as it ever was, and germanely to this discussion. It's about a woman whose obsession with marrying well destroys her life. Literally destroys her life. Like all the things we've been talking about, Lily Bart is so far more a victim of than you or I ever were. And I think The House of Mirth is a perfect novel. It's like the perfect modern tragedy. It's from start to finish, like an arrow shot out of a bow. It's all inevitable. You watch her downfall, just unable to breathe. It's gut wrenching in the best way. Yeah. The House of Mirth is today's treasure. Thank you for asking that question.
I love that question, Robin. And we just had this great comment from Margaret. I love the writing therapy idea. It's how my diary notebooks are for me. Closing the book on a bad day literally feels great. That's right. I think you close the book on something that you wouldn't be able to excavate otherwise, or you could excavate through several years of talk therapy. Robin said, thank you for answering my question. Big hugs. Thank you, Robin. We love this. We love all you guys on Blaze. I have a final question. I wish we had time to ask more audience questions, but I talked too much today. If you had advice for aspiring female writers, younger women about the topic of good company, let's put it that way, like about the Hemingway's girl thing. I don't even know if anybody is going through that sort of wormhole anymore, but like, what advice do you have for women about this, even women of our generation?
I feel like when I taught at Iowa 3 years ago, my students were all in their 20s, and they just seemed like their generation is so different from ours. It was almost like it was really hard for me to get across the generational divide. It made me feel really old, honestly. Well, I am really old, so it made me aware that I am really old. And there's nothing wrong with being old. It happens. I mean, it's just inevitable. I mean, it's kind of great, actually. I'm really liking it. So I would say, here's what I wish someone had said to me when I was in my 20s, that no one ever said. And I had to find it out on my own, and it was really hard. I don't know if they're grappling with this. Can you tell this is a really hard question? Giving advice to women in their 20s, I feel like I can't presume to know what they're struggling with. But what I was struggling with was finding my authentic voice and trusting that the voice in my gut was okay. And so I feel like if I say that to them, they might roll their eyes and say, yeah, well, we know. But that's the advice I would give. That's the advice I've got. Trust the voice in your gut, and really write out viscerally out of your gut and out of what you really feel and believe. And don't feel like you have to be great.
Because that's how you become great. That's how you become real, right? It's you are already real.
The great is the enemy of the authentic.
Yes. And weirdly, once you are authentic, then you become great. You can write a companion book now to your Penn Faulkner book called The Great Woman. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh my God. Okay. This has been such a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much for having like lots of happiness in the chat about the discussion, about the therapy, the dogs. Is the dog in the room? I want to see the dog. We want to see the dog. Can we see the dog?
Someone just knocked at the door and the dogs are barking.
All right, that is our cue. We're going to send you off stage. I mean, I have a dog, a neighbor's dog sitting right next to me, and she's like, what is happening? What is happening right now? I don't even understand. So before we turn into a total dog zoo, which actually we love here on The Blaze, Kate, thank you so much for joining us, for your honesty, your candor, your authenticity, your greatness, your humor, your everything. Everybody go buy several copies of Good Company. Give it to everybody you know who is seeking their own authenticity. I think that is, man or woman. Like, I think it's such an important book about breaking out of a shell that you've created for yourself to protect yourself. And so it's a really, really wonderful book. And it's a good read. It is Good Company. It's great company. Thanks, Kate. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time on The Blaze.